Welcome to All Things in the Name of Love. If you like this show, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks. Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me a beautiful soul that I've had the opportunity to know for a few months. His name is David Trotter. He is the co-founder of Awakened Magazine and just a delightful being. And I'm so grateful to have you on the show. And thank you for all the work you do in the world.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be with you. It's going to be fun to connect and see where the conversation flows.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your background because, you and I connected a few months ago and I felt the resonance, but I don't really know you.
Yeah, well, I live in Southern California, Orange County. Now, I actually grew up a far distance from here in the state of Kentucky till I was
Oh,
16. But I found my way down here eventually to Southern California to go to school to study to be a pastor. So in my high school years, I was really on the trajectory of being a professional sports photographer. I did photography all through high school and worked at a newspaper as a sports photographer. My goal was to be a Sports Illustrated photographer. I just love photography and sports. And I had this encounter at a Christian youth convention when I was a senior in high school and felt this calling into Christian ministry. And so checked out colleges down the West Coast, went to one called Vanguard University here in Costa Mesa, and then went on to Fuller Theological Seminary to study to be a pastor. And I was a Christian pastor helping start new churches here in Orange County for over a decade.
wow.
And I loved, kind of that entrepreneurial spirit of starting something new and creating. And, I was a part of some churches that grew really fast, and I was able to be a part of that. It's a very unique experience.
Mm.
Simultaneously, I was a workaholic. I was trying to kind of fill that void of not enoughness, that if I could grow this church big enough, help enough people, get a book deal, whatever it would be, then I'd finally be, somebody. And as you know, at this age, it just doesn't work, right? That just does not work. And so for me, I hit a wall of burnout about 16 years ago
Mm.
and was really a brutal wake up call transition in my life. As I navigated through that, though, I found that atmosphere of Christian ministry was not a good fit for me. Less on about spirituality and more about my own personality and way of kind of operating in the world. And so I started a little marketing agency where I was helping people with communications, both for profit and nonprofit. That gave me the flexibility of kind of trying some new things with an entrepreneurial spirit, and I fell into filmmaking. I had a passion to draw attention to some issues in the world. The first issue was orphans in India. I've done a lot of trips to India on humanitarian campaigns, a lot of water wells, churches, things with orphanages. And so this film was about orphans in India called Mother India, Life Through the Eyes of the Orphan. And it was on Netflix from 2012 to 2014. It's still on Amazon Prime now. We came across a group of 25 orphans living alongside a railway and just hung out with them for a couple weeks and documented their lives through a translator, featured a number of them in the film. And it was a very, very powerful experience. That led me then to become even more aware of the issue of sex trafficking in the world. I saw it firsthand in India, China, Thailand, and then began to hear about it in the US. This was around 2014. So I went to my distributor and said, hey, I'd love to make a documentary on trafficking, but I want to focus on solutions, not on
Mm.
sensationalizing the issue. Because a
Yeah.
lot of films were coming out during that time that were sensationalizing it, sexualizing it, just watching it would be traumatic in some ways. And so we found 6 women who opened up aftercare homes around the US. And we featured those 6 women in this film and featured survivors as well. And so we featured, homes in Baltimore, Little Rock, Nashville, Sacramento, Houston, Dallas, all these different places. And so that was exciting. I did a couple more films as well. But a turning point for me came when I started a podcast specifically for female entrepreneurs. I felt like a lot of women were interested in all the different things that I had been doing over the course of my life. And I thought, well, what if I highlighted, amplified, promoted what these women business owners are doing? And over the course of several hundred episodes, I started having a lot of women come on the show like yourself who were talking about energy and healing and Reiki and tarot and channeling and mediumship, all this stuff. I
Yeah.
thought, these people are weird. All right, these are some weird people. And simultaneously, though, I was, kind of starting to ask some questions outside of the box of conservative Christian thinking. And they
Mm,
were really giving me permission to open my mind and heart up to a new way of connecting with God, seeing myself, spirituality, and so forth. And
mm,
so I fell into what I call the gateway drug of sound baths, which lead to meditation, and
yeah.
for me, breath work, and then more recently, some experiences with mediumship and channeling. And it really just opened up my world to go, okay, this is actually my tribe. These are the people that I resonate with. And yeah, I mean, there you go. That's a little bit of, short version,
Yeah.
long version of the short version of how I got here. So,
That's beautiful. I love that because I grew up in a moderately conservative church in Connecticut, and I
mhm.
was spiritual from like day one, and I couldn't really convey my intuitiveness, the fact that I astral traveled or anything like that, because it was just, Fairfield County, Connecticut in the 1970s. It wasn't going to work. Um, so
Yeah.
I repressed mine, even though my intuition never
Mhm.
left me. I thought I repressed it because it was like too much to try to navigate trying to be normal with
Mhm.
my spirituality. And so because like, Christianity it's a set program of things.
Right.
And
Right.
what I did wasn't part of that. So
Right.
I get that discomfort level that happens when you branch out of that system.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the things that is really coming up in my life at this point is when I was 18, 19 years old, well, let me back up and say that my family had been a part of a church where there was an openness to what would be called in the Christian world the supernatural.
Mm,
And so they were part of like a charismatic or Pentecostal type experience where there
yeah,
was in that world called speaking in tongues, spiritual world, light language,
yeah.
a belief in healing, a belief in supernatural knowledge of things. So
Okay.
I was kind of around that. And then I went
Okay.
to a college that was like open to that, a
Hmm.
particular Christian denomination called the Assemblies of God. And so I found that my kind of foray into this wasn't because I was having like I don't know intuitive experiences, but I just had a resonance with there is a dimension outside of what we can see and feel that is
Hmm.
real, and that there's a powerfulness to it that can transform and heal. And I was very intrigued by that when I was 18, 19 years old. And yet, when I went into kind of full time ministry, I was a part of churches where that really wasn't kind of accepted.
Hmm.
Mainstream evangelical churches are just like,
Yeah.
let's read the Bible. Let's remind you you're a sinner and you should do the right thing. And if you don't, you're going to hell. That's kind of like more
Yeah. Yeah.
box, but kind of more of these supernatural, powerful, otherworldly dimensions. Yeah, we might
Mhm.
say we believe in that, but we're not going to delve into it because it's too sketchy. So,
Yeah, no, I get that because like I every family member that's died, I've had different experiences of them telling me that they're still okay. And
mm,
the one that really got me was when my dad was in intensive care and went to hospice, and um he just died, and we left and then we came back. He died when we were we left for the day and we were coming back. And
mhm,
I look at his body, he's not there. So I say,
mm,
"Where's dad?" to my mom like 3 separate times because I'm like, "That's not my father. That's like a wax figure that doesn't look." It was distorted. It was so distorted because he
wow.
wasn't. And then I
Yeah.
felt And he was the last one where I was like, I can't deny this anymore. I can't
Mm,
pretend that this doesn't exist because
mhm.
like I literally felt him scattering across the universe, but he
My
waited
goodness.
for me to acknowledge it. I'm like,
Mm,
I can't pretend that I can't pretend this doesn't exist anymore.
that's
And
amazing.
so like as we allow ourselves the opportunity to realize that this is just one aspect of us, it gets
Mhm.
really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
How many
tell me
years
about
ago was that for you?
oh, that was 2009.
Okay.
I've been
And
like
that
I
really shifted things for you.
yeah, I went, okay, we're just not good. Like I started with Vishen from Mind Valley, and he had this 7 point
Mhm.
meditation. I listened to that for 6 or 7 years. Then I did the Silva method, and then I kept going on and on and on and on. And it was because like that part of me that I had quote unquote repressed was like, we're not doing this anymore. You're gonna go deep and
Mm,
remember who you are because you have a mission to do. And I don't know, like mission, whatever that is, like to be. The mission is to be. And
mhm,
it was so fascinating because the more I grew into more of who I am, the less all the other stuff, all the programs, the beliefs, the everything, like my titles I don't care about them because they're not me. They're an aspect of me, but they don't define who I am.
mhm. That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So powerful. My goodness.
thank you. So tell me about like what has been I'm getting this word, the trippiest exciting experience for you as you started to awaken to this new aspect of you.
Oh man, Sophia, are you sure we want to talk about this?
Why not? I mean, like
uh,
every the point here is like we're helping people on their spiritual journeys.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's funny. I just was on a podcast the other day and I talked about it for the first time. So I'm happy to share it with you as well. You know, one of the things that began to unfold for me a number of years ago, I had a client who I was coaching. I was kind of doing business coaching with them, and she's a doctor of Eastern medicine. And she
oh,
started
cool.
sharing with me about these journeys that she was going on with other
Mm,
individuals. I'm like, a journey? Like, tell me about this journey. She's like, well, you know, it involves these mushrooms. And I was like, really? And so she talks to me about it. You know, I think the first or second one, she had all her clothes off and she was in a tree doing. I thought, okay, that does not sound like a good journey to me. Let's keep our clothes on, you know. Um, so eventually she said, hey, if you ever wanted to experience that, you know, let me know. I said, okay, well, I'm going to duct tape my clothes on. I will, you know, be happy to do that. So I went to one of these, you know,
mm,
journeys and I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is a different world. And it was kind of gentle, it was light. At the time, I will tell you, I was on two different antidepressants and an
wow.
anti-anxiety medication. And so I had to take quite a bit in order to push through that
Yeah.
medication because
Yeah.
it prevents you from doing that.
Mhm.
I've been off of those antidepressants now for I think 2.5 years or so. So I haven't had a lot of these medicine journey experiences, maybe a dozen. A couple months ago, though, I was in a group setting with people that I knew. There was about a dozen of us in a living room, candles, having
Mhm.
this experience. And I had previously been through a channeling class with a woman named Sean Randall, who helped Bashar get kind of his start in this
Mhm.
whole channeling world. And I started having some relationships and connection with a couple of unseen friends, two entities that show up in my meditations and
Wow.
having this back and forth conversation with them for quite some time. And
Mhm.
so going into this particular medicine journey, I was told, it sounds silly saying that, but I was told that I would experience love, power, like just those two words, very simple, love and power. And anyway, during that experience, um, I involuntarily pop up and I start speaking this light language out loud, so loud, in this
Wow.
space. Now, I have spoken in tongues, which is what it's called in the Christian world, since I was 18. But I have used it less and more in recent years, now becoming definitely, part of this spiritual community. But it's
Mhm.
coming out of me, Sophia, so loud, and I'm not, and my eyes are
Yeah.
closed, and I lay back down and I look at my partner Mandy, and I said, did I just say something? She's like, oh yeah, you did. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I can't. She's like, no, 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 it's okay. So I lay back down. So I have this outburst, right, with all these people. And then I
Yeah.
lay back down. And then I can start to feel my face contort. And then my head cranks to the right hand side. And then my body starts moving. And I could feel that my tongue moving in my mouth. And I knew there's something that's trying to come out, like
Yeah.
this message, right? This message.
Wow.
And so I had just experienced the power coming through me, like through this light language. And then I'm like, oh, no, 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 this is messages of love. Like I'm intuitively knowing this. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, I cannot say this right now. These people are all chill, like lights out. It's, 11 p.m. and everybody's having their own experience,
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop it. I literally could not stop it. I said the person's name, who was actually one of the facilitators, and this
Oh.
message started coming out of me that I could not stop. It was completely involuntary. I could see inside of him. I could see inside of his partner, and I'm saying this message, and it's pure love, right? It's wisdom. I can't
Yeah.
stop it. I did that for like an hour
Oh,
with
wow.
every single person in the room.
Oh, that
And
was so beautiful.
I was physically exhausted. I had
Yeah.
never had anything like this happen to me. And it was the most profound spiritual experience of my life. And every time the message would be ready to come in, I could feel this like coming on me, like this energy, this intensity. And then it would like come out of me. And so I didn't really know what to do with it. I kind of just let it be for like the last several months. And
Yeah.
then my partner Mandy and I had an experience about a week and a half ago, just ourselves.
Mhm.
And Sophia, it happened again. It
Really?
for like a couple hours, this stuff's just coming, and this
Oh my God, I love
message is
that.
coming, and it's physically exhausting. It's
Yeah.
intense. It's flowing through me, and so I am in a place where I have sought kind of counsel, wisdom the last week or so with several individuals that I trust that are channels to say, what's going on? Like, what do I do with this? How do I navigate this?
Yeah.
Um, so you're kind of catching me raw in the middle of it going,
Mhm.
wow, I didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, last time I recorded myself this time.
Oh,
I
cool.
recorded all
Cool.
the messages because they were coming through for specific people. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of a mess, and I'm like hitting record as I feel this intensity.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm trying to kind of find my way. I
Yeah.
know that I have asked for this
Mhm.
many, 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 many years ago when I was in
Mhm.
college. So when we talked about like 18, 19, I'm wanting to have these experiences where the divine or some sort of divine is speaking through me.
Yeah.
And it's all 100%, I know this, for the benefit of others, right?
Mhm.
It is for the benefit of others. And that's what I'm left asking myself is, how do I be a good steward of this?
Mhm.
How do I somehow navigate where I can do this without the medicine?
Mhm.
And how do I utilize it in a way that would just benefit other people? Right. I mean, this is not it's
Yeah.
physically exhausting for me. So
Mhm.
anyway, yeah, I'm trying to find my way in all that.
Beautiful. I love that because like I can relate because the past couple sessions I've done, I've been taking classes with Quantum University, and the first one is learning about the biofield. The second is about the five energetic bodies of physical, vital, mental, supramental, and bliss bodies. And then I started taking anatomy and physiology, which is like different density. It's like it's been very hard for me to get through that class because everything else was like such
Hmm.
a high vibration, and this is like it's going from 3D printing down to the Industrial Revolution.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but the sessions I've done, I'm repairing DNA, which I've never been able to do before. And
Mhm.
I've been actually going into the DNA and seeing it recalibrate and optimize. I'm like, okay, that's not body talk because I'm ready
Mhm.
for it. So like I don't think we get the gifts
Mhm.
online until we're ready for them. And then it's a
Mhm.
matter of like, okay, how do we integrate this? How do we bring this forth? How
Right.
do we get comfortable with it? Because I mean,
Right.
animals are I've been since I started doing this, the animals just come into my consciousness and tell me what the formula is, and I write it down, and it's all this great thing, and I love it. Now
Mm.
they're having conversations through me to the humans.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, you guys have never talked to me before. Um, kind of
You're talking
uncomfortable.
about
The
animals that
animals.
you work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The animals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like coming through and having conversations for the humans because they want the humans to understand. And it's like, okay, I don't necessarily feel comfortable with this. And the animals will like, I had a situation a few weeks ago where the animal asked me for the session, but the human didn't.
Mm.
I'm like, how do I navigate that? Because the animal wants to be sovereign. I mean, we're
Mhm.
ultimately going to be Kahu, where we're the steward, the that kind of level. We're not owning anyone because we can't.
Mhm. Sure.
And there's a gap between here and here. So
Mhm.
yeah, but it's fascinating when we have these gifts that come online and it- they're out of our comfort zones, right? Because we're remembering
Yeah.
that divinity that we already are. But our 3D self is like, "That's really uncomfortable. I don't really like that." So, yeah, what I'm feeling is like for you is like when you're done, ground. You're in Orange County, you can ground all year. Like,
Mhm.
really, like,
Yeah.
lay out
Yeah.
ground and just lay at least for, like, 20 minutes barefoot and
Mhm.
allow Mama Gaia to recalibrate you.
Mm. Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did not do that a week and a half ago. That would have been good. I'll make sure I do that next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun to be on the journey and go, all right, there's no deadline, there's no timeline, there's no goal that I have to pursue. I can just be open. I think as the people that I coach and the people that work with our magazine, that I try to remind them is that there's a definite feeling that I have and that others around me would have. It's true for all of us when we're coming from a heart of service versus trying to perform.
Yeah.
And for me, a lot of my life has been about performance in order to
Mhm.
get that, like, hey, good job, or, obviously earn that money or build that thing.
Mhm.
And to go, okay, when we're in a place of performance, it's more exhausting, it's more anxiety producing, more stressful. I'm more concerned about what you think about me or how I can somehow get something from you, versus if we're in a place of service, to
Mhm.
go, okay, how can I be of service to you
Yeah.
today? How can I share my heart, share my wisdom, share my ideas, whatever
Mhm.
it might be? And that definitely feels in alignment with this experience for me, is to
Yeah.
go, wow, I don't know what this is. This feels very special. I feel like I need to steward this and I don't know where it's going to go. Maybe it won't keep showing up. I don't know.
Right.
But I think I should come from a posture of, if this is coming into my life, how can I utilize it to be of service to others?
Yeah. Yeah. I completely understand that because like the whole motivation. So I realized about a week ago that I'm Palladian.
Mm,
Never thought about it, but I just tuned into it because like everything about me is service. And it comes from the fact that the third dimensional constructs have never made sense to me. I have never
mm.
understood since I was born, I didn't get separation. So it's like, why do
Wow.
you think that tree is different than me? Or why do you think that animal isn't the same, probably higher frequency than me? Like I don't like animals literally are my friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe for most people are like, but that's just a dog or a cat. I'm like, no, 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 that's actually my friend. We just had like quantum entanglement and we actually get each other and we're connected and we love each other as friends. And I talk to them like my friends. And so like trying to reconcile that part of me, like I've always tried to reconcile that part of me, but like the third dimensional constructs just they don't make sense to me because it's
Mm-hmm.
not in service.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like I always tried to fit in, never could, never could.
Mm,
Gave up.
yeah.
Just gave up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. On your own path.
Yep. Yep. So I love that. Like that you're the fact that you're opening yourself up to what wants to come through you is such a level of surrender. And it speaks to how much work you've done with yourself to allow yourself to get to that space. Sorry about the
Yeah.
noise.
Well, oh, I didn't hear. I didn't
Oh,
hear
did it?
anything. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I want to be open. I will tell you, one of the funny things that I recorded in this session a week and a half ago was part of my experience feels almost like it's unfiltered higher self, David. And when I'm speaking it, I don't feel like I'm thinking, it's just kind of coming through me. And one of the things that cracked me up in listening back is that I was articulating a severe discomfort with doing the channeling. And I'm saying it in this really silly, dramatic voice where I'm like, but I don't like this because it terrifies me because I don't know what the message is going to come through. And who is the they that's telling the message? Who the F are these people? And I don't get to check what the message is and that it will actually be in alignment with what I think or that's appropriate. Maybe the message is not appropriate. Maybe it might be offensive to someone. I don't want that to come through. So I'm processing this out loud. I'm like, I just don't feel, I feel out of control. This does not feel good to me. But the
I love that
medicine, I
so
think,
much.
eliminates like the medicine kind of like takes away that
Mm,
ability. So I was having a great conversation this morning with a channel named Livia Devi, who lives in Ireland, and she said, the bottom line is you just have to surrender. Like you have to, if you want it to come, you have to surrender because otherwise, like we do have volition, we do have choice. And the
yeah.
medicine is kind of like eliminating all those
Mm,
barriers. But how do you then uh, ask them to create an access point in your consciousness in order for you to have access and connection there without, of course, without the medicine. I don't want to be doing medicine.
well,
It's
it's interesting
exhausting.
because
It's long.
I haven't been able to do any medicine. So this has been even because I'm very, very like former historian, PhD, all the way, theoretical, like very, very left brain. Then there's the consciousness part, right? So like when
Yeah.
I first started doing body talk, I am questioning it regularly because like here's this being that I'm working with is coming into my field and telling
Yes.
me what to write down and I'm channeling a session essentially. And
Yes.
my left brain's like, what are you doing? And
Yeah.
so like
Ha-
when I started taking the quantum university classes, all of a sudden my left brain was like, I get it now. I don't have to fight anymore because I get it. Because like under like that scientific aspect of explaining what quantum physics is and entanglement and all those things, like my left brain needed that so it can trust my right brain more, even though my right brain's like, really, you
Mhm.
really need classes for this, really, because we're already doing it. But left brain's
Mhm.
like, yeah, but I want to understand it because this is so highly developed that like
Mhm.
even though I've had stuff come through that has literally blown my mind away, my left brain away, there's like this
Mhm.
it's like relaxing into, oh, okay, yeah, I can surrender now.
Yeah. That's the place that I think I would not think I know that I'm in
Yeah.
is, is this safe? Is this okay for me to trust this, to allow the message to flow and not be worried about what somebody's going to say or do or whatever. And that,
Yeah.
for me, in my language, takes me back to the shift from performance to service. to go,
Yeah.
okay, if I know that if my intention is pure to go, I mean, we're here to be of service of this, then, and if I also have an intention that whatever I'm connecting with is also of service, also of love, then this is safe to be able to open up to. So,
Yeah. I love that. I love that because it's the intention part is so important. Like when I do a session, I call in source energy, all of my higher self and all of my higher wisdom and all of the beings higher wisdom, and ask for the highest healing to be facilitated through me for them. So that's the intention I
mhm.
set. And then it it's fascinating what comes through because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
surrendering me to be of service.
yeah,
And it's just it's just so amazing how ready animals are to receive this. Like, I received
mm,
body talk sessions for, like, 8 years, and I had them for 8 years because I had so many subconscious things coming up. Animals are usually, like, 1 or 2 sessions because they don't have as much stuff going as we do. So,
mhm.
yeah, it's just really fascinating to see, like, where their consciousness is, where ours is. I've seen a couple things where, like, "Do animals have consciousness?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Even chickens have consciousness. It
Wow.
might not be where
Yeah,
we are, but they have consciousness. So,
yeah,
yeah,
it's amazing.
yeah, it's pretty
It's
fun.
good.
Yeah. So, I want to ask you now, because we haven't even gotten to it yet. How did you come about bringing into form Awakened Magazine?
Yeah. So my partner Mandy owns a breathwork and meditation studio here in Orange County called Behind the Lids. And we have, classes on breathwork, meditation, mediumship, all these things, almost every night of the week. And I help her participate in some of those. And over the last number of years, I've just met so many people like yourself who have these gifts, who want to do great things. You are doing great things in the world. And as I began to look at it, I'm like, okay, there's these individuals, and I kind of see them as across a continuum. Everyone who's kind of from like a conscious, mindful, motivational speaker type person, all the way to someone who's channeling galactic entities and so forth, right? And there's all these people in between that are doing great things. And the common denominator is they're all bringing love, healing, transformation, and awakening to our world. And so I began to go, if I could amplify what they're doing, magnify what they're all up to. And I've done that for years in all these different ways through the 4 films that I've done that are all on Amazon, through books, through a podcast. It's amplifying the work of other people. And so I began to be aware of other digital magazines in the marketplace. And I saw, oh, okay, this is a different model, a different way of creating content and messaging. The thing that was important to me was number one, it would amplify the voices of the people who are bringing love, transformation, healing, and awakening to the world. And then number two, it had to be beautiful and professional and engaging because a
Yeah.
lot of the kind of digital magazines that I have seen out there are a
Mhm.
little more on the hokey side.
Yeah.
And I just was like, it's got to, if I'm going to help someone like you get the message out about what you're doing, it's got to be beautiful, engaging, and professional. And so that's what our very best effort is to do. And we definitely have a unique model in that most publications are sustained through advertising. Like that's just how the world of media is. And so
Right.
we've chosen to actually go down another path, which is what's called branded content. So
Mhm.
all of the individuals who present their message on our platform are part of our membership program. And so they help make the magazine even possible just through their contributions as members. And then we work really hard to make their content beautiful and engaging and get it out to as many people as possible.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful thing because like there's so many light workers, the disconnect between like, hey, I know everything I can do and how amazing it is, and finding the people that are open to the fact that their animals are sovereign. I mean, that's a conversation that
Mhm.
not many people are ready to have yet. Um, but how to bridge that and find the people that are open to those conversations, it can be challenging sometimes because I mean, right now I'm in rural Oregon And and while I can do everything remotely, trying to get I'll use an example. When I was down in Weed, California, there was a cow that was going to be put down because some non-issue. And I was there and I'm like, I could do energy work on her, but she was like, nah, this cow's ready to die. I'm like, she's actually not. But she couldn't hear it. And like I felt like, and
Mm.
you're a witch if you say anything about it. I'm like, okay, we're not gonna say anything about it, because like I could just feel the energy of it. And I'm like, oh, this poor cow is
Yeah.
getting put down unnecessarily because of a perception. Um,
Mm.
and I don't want that to ever happen again on my watch.
Mhm.
Like if I can help as many animals, I don't care if it's like a zoo animal, if it's like an aquarium, if it's wild, if they come to me and they ask for help and I can help. I can't do surgery, but I could do everything else. Like that's important. And
Mhm.
so for you to be able to, because I know Whitney Freya, she's a former friend of mine. We just got out of touch, but like I remember taking a class with Whitney a few years ago, and she opened my art skills to me. Like I mean, she
Mhm.
didn't open them for me. She gave me the opportunity to open myself to my art skills. And
Yeah.
the fact that I mean, I think it was Daily Om
Mm.
where I found her. And so like that's a great platform, but to have a magazine that's international is even better.
Yeah, yeah. And she's obviously one of our contributors. And so we've featured her on the podcast and the magazine, and she contributes articles. Yeah. And so, that's the goal, is just how do I help these individuals that come into our community magnify their work, amplify their voice, and get the message out about them. And then we create events that are online. Like right now, we're doing this thing called De-Stress December, where each Wednesday we get together and have a different executive contributor share a particular modality or practice to help people cultivate peace.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, it's just all these different events. We're having our first print edition. We are a digital magazine online, and we're doing our first print edition for Conscious Life Expo in February of 2025.
That's awesome.
Conscious Life Expo is in Los Angeles, if people aren't familiar with it. So I share that to say, we're just kind of like getting our feet underneath us
Yeah.
and creating like all these opportunities. And we plan to do some compilation books, some anthologies in 2025. And hopefully we'll do our first in-person event in 2025. So these
Oh,
are all just exciting, developments
yeah.
and opportunities, all in the same vein of how do we amplify the voices of conscious leaders, healers, and coaches in order to bring more love, healing, transformation, and awakening to the world.
That is such a beautiful and important mission right now. Because I know if you're doing what you're doing, I know you're feeling the shifts in consciousness right now.
Yeah.
And like all of the X and M class flares and the Schumann resonance and all of those shifts that like, whew, there've been a couple days when I'm like, all last week, I woke up between 2 and 6. Like I was just awake.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I'm like, okay, the other day I journal a lot, and I was like, okay, so what's with that? Because I like sleep, I really do. And they said, well, you're getting upgrades. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
good to know. Awkward time to do it, but okay, I get it. And so last night, it was, well, 2 nights ago. Last night I did not sleep well because the dogs jumped on the bed with me. But the night before I slept like 10 hours because I was like, okay, you've done the integrate. Now you've done all of the receiving. Now you get to integrate it. So
Nice.
yeah, but yeah, how are you feeling? Like I mean, I'm in the middle of nowhere right now. How are you feeling where you are? Are you noticing people more open to what's going on and the multi-dimensionality that we are? I mean, like I don't know where you're at, like in terms of like day to day in the supermarket or anything like that. Are you noticing things?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think just in terms of our culture, obviously COVID was a massive shift.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, because I still have a foot kind of in that Christian world
Okay.
of becoming aware, because I've got a lot of connections in that world, and church attendance just plummeted post
Yeah.
COVID. Obviously,
Yeah.
COVID churches shut down, but churches have. dramatically dropped in terms of attendance, and so that's a big issue in the Christian, world.
Yeah.
But what I'm simultaneously seeing, though, is a big shift in openness to more of interest in spirituality, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the interesting shift that I see is people kind of asking questions of going, and in that world, it's not really okay to ask questions. It's not okay to read off an approved list. And
Yeah.
so, as people are kind of exploring that, that's more what I'm seeing, like people openness, willingness to ask more questions,
Oh.
maybe disenchanted with the cultural values
Mhm.
of whether it's accumulation or prestige or power or fame, just going, that's maybe I got a little taste of that. That really doesn't work for me. Like there's
Mhm.
something deeper here. There's a different interest. That's what I'm seeing, right? That unfolding. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I've been seeing like I've had the opportunity to just like, when you call in your I am presence. I was in Westland 2 weeks ago and there was a bomb cyclone thing coming, right? I'm
Mm,
gonna say it, it was a HARP generated thing coming from Alaska. And I'm probably
mm,
gonna get like flagged for that one. But but I felt it. I felt into the energy of it. And it was coming down and there were gonna be like tsunamis and blah, 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 all these
mm,
crazy things. And I called in my I am presence and I'm like, I am presence, nothing that is inauthentic is coming near me, weather-wise.
mm.
That thing didn't come near me. It went down to
Nice.
Shasta and dumped like 3 feet of snow, but it didn't come near me because
Mm,
I tuned in and I saw one of my girlfriends and she was like, I am presence. I said, yeah, we all have one, right? It's the Saint Germain discourses. I don't know. I have seen and I've heard and I've read the discourses to an extent. I have not
yeah.
memorized. I know they're
Hmm.
very powerful remembrances of who we can be. But, I was talking to somebody yesterday. She said, well, why don't you use it all the time? I was like, well, honestly, because I wasn't ready to. I wasn't
Mm,
ready to embody that awareness that the I am presence is source coming through me.
mhm,
And so, because that's humbling, that's scary, right? When
mm,
you realize that you're not this, you're actually God incarnate. Um,
mm,
that's scary for the ego.
mhm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
easy to then jump back up and jump back into the mind and try to
mhm.
figure things out then.
Oh yeah, I used to call it the boomerang effect, where I'd like have an expansion, and then I'd go back into my left brain, and I'm like, "Can we stop this, please?" Because it's getting a little exhausting. Because I'd have this massive expansion the next day. I'm like, "No, that was my imagination." I'm like, "No, it was not my imagination."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is tough for me. I'm a very driven person. I get a lot done. Productivity is a value for me. I love expanding things. I love having big vision. That's fun. That's just fun for me. But a lot of that, there, a part of it that's spirit driven, manifestation oriented, but a lot of that execution, it just comes down to, okay, I gotta have the team get all these things done. Here's the to-do list. Like, you know what I mean? It's just get stuff done.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think that's a part for me of navigating my life of how do I get so much done and to-do list and then simultaneously be open to the direction of spirit, to be open to consciousness. I think
Mm,
that's just probably a lifelong journey for me personally.
yeah. Yeah. Because it can be difficult. Like I've gotten to the point. I've 2 weeks ago, I was shown I cannot multitask anymore.
Mm,
Can't drink my chai and journal. It's not going to happen. And so I have
mm,
to be like, I'm really being drawn into presence a lot more than I ever have. And when I'm not,
mm,
I end up having an accident of some sort, or like I misplaced something or something falls or something. So it's like that's really what I'm being called to. And, as we were talking before I press record, like I'm usually a planner. So I've got through January 31st where I'm house sitting. I can go through the end of like I found one today that's like through the February 1st to the 28th. I am not being guided to submit anything. I'm like,
mm,
I really like to have a space. Like I'm okay. Like it's taken a while, but I'm used to moving around and like settling and like making food and like I've gotten that part down. It's taken a couple months, but I'm there. But to not like I want to like have a couple months out, and they're like, you don't need to. And I'm like,
mm.
okay, I'll surrender to that, but know that that's my preference is to like have February covered, especially on the Oregon
Yeah.
coast. That would be pretty awesome for the month of February. But
Yeah.
like it's really like, okay, that's your tendency,
Mm,
that's your insecurity. Do you know how safe you are?
mm.
Yeah. I'm like, no, you don't really know you're that safe, even though part of me does, because I've had lots
Yeah.
of examples in the past 2 months where like I am so taken care of, it's ridiculous. It's
Mm.
embarrassing to like think that I have any doubt. Um, like my front and rear driver's axles were literally falling off the day
Wow.
that I got to my mechanic.
Mm.
They're like, you should have taken care of this 3 years ago. Where did you go? And I'm like, Portland, Portland, weed, Orcas Island. But like, I'm just like, I put thousands of miles on my car, and for some reason, they didn't come off until
Mm,
the day I dropped it off at the mechanics. Like,
mm.
I can't make,
Safety.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so protected, and it's like, I don't even get that, but I know it's
Mm,
true. And it's like, when we surrender, and that's what I'm doing more and more and more of, we're so taken care of, it's ridiculous.
mm. That feels good. That feels good. Thank you for the reminder. That's good.
You're welcome. Well, I'm realizing because I still want to talk to you more, but I'm also being mindful of the fact that we have other things to do. So I'm going to ask the question, how can people find you?
Yeah, of course. So my home address is just kidding. Uh, our website for Awakened Magazine is awakenedmagazine.com, past tense, Awakened, awakenedmagazine.com. People say, why did you name it Awakened Magazine? I go, well, because the URL was available. Uh,
That's a good reason.
I've I've used the word awaken in all of my films, and that word really has a deep resonance for me personally. So
Yeah.
yeah, awakenedmagazine.com, Awakened Magazine on Instagram and all the different platforms. You can find us there.
David, I want to thank you profoundly for all the work you do in the world, for who you
Thank
are,
you.
and all that you are becoming.
Thank you so much. And I echo that back to you. Thank you for all the ways that you're serving not just humanity, but all of the consciousness of our earth, right? All of the little ones and big ones, the ones that mean so much to us, right? Ah, animals are the best. So
Mhm.
I've got my dog Hero sitting right here on the ground, hanging out. We just got back from a walk, so thank you for caring for all of consciousness in our world. Really appreciate it.
So welcome.